Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to the third International Conference on Global Trends in English Language, Literature, and Linguistics. It is jointly organized by Research Culture Society, Department of English, Mila University Center, Algeria, the International Language Council, and English Literary Club. I'm the moderator for the session and committee member as well. My name is Mashal Shahid, and I am a visiting lecturer of English Language and Literature at International Islamic University, Islamabad, Pakistan. Let me give you a brief introduction of the organizing institute as well as the members. Research Culture Society is an Indian government-registered international scientific research organization which has successfully organized 100+ conferences, seminars, symposiums, and educational programs at national and international level. Department of English Mila University Center has 4 main faculties, including the Faculty of Letters and Languages. It is located in Mila, County of Algeria. The International Languages Council promotes languages and literature at national as well as international level. English Literary Club acts as a literature center for Research Culture Society. Along with others, this conference has been organized by Professor Rita Ammer, who is the Director of Literary Studies and Critical Laboratory. He also works at the Faculty of Letters and Languages, University Center, Algeria, Mira. And there is C.M. Patel, who is the founder president of International Scientific Research Organization and director of Research Culture Society. He's also part of Eurasian University. All the objectives of this conference are to identify and analyze the trends of literature, language, and linguistics. First of all, now I would like to invite the keynote session speakers one by one and request them to share their thoughts about this conference and what they're looking forward to the most. First of all, we have Honorable Dr. Sidi Zamani Rootsari. She's an English language instructor at the College of Curriculum and Teaching in Alabama, United States of America. Dr. Sidi Zamani, I welcome you to this conference, and please, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. And I'm so excited to be the first speaker of this valuable conference. I'm sure you will have 2 very exciting days coming. Can I share my screen with you?
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you. And I believe you can see my screen well, yes?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. So as the conference is focused around language, linguistics, and literature, I wanted to share one of my recent studies about language and content-based instruction. And I hope I can just borrow some of your valuable time on it. So a very short overview of my research is about the purpose of my study, the context of my study, and the methods, and what were the first findings and implications of the current study. As you see in the picture, these are this study was in several phases, but this is the picture of the last semester students where I was teaching content and language at the same time. The purpose of this study was to kind of explore and investigate a language learning experience in adult education, and how, these days we have lots of good studies and research around content-based instruction. So I wanted to evaluate content-based instruction through CBI and CLT, or communicative language teaching. The questions focused around the students' attitudes and perceptions while they were learning content with CLT approach, and also if they favored their CLT methodology and what strategies or tech tools they enjoyed the most. As I said, the context was a graduate level applied linguistic course. So the students were in graduate level. They were pre-service or in-service teachers who were in a TESOL certificate program or master or PhD program. The purpose was to teach content. As you know, like in when the students come here to US, they just put them in STEM classes or content-based classes. They believe that the students will learn the language automatically by learning the content. So we wanted to teach language in an applied linguistic class to see if the students will automatically learn the language in the context. And also we were just having a kind of insight with CLT methodology or approach to see if it is working there. The basic framework for content or CBI or content-based instruction is around language instruction within the content, or CLIL, that is content and language integrated learning, and also CLIL when teaching applied linguistics as content and language integrated learning would be very valuable for language classes. In general, when we are talking about content-based instruction, we are talking about teaching math, science, STEM courses, or every courses in another language. That language can be a second language or a foreign language. So in these conditions, we usually provide some kind of authentic or real life experiences for the students. They will apply or they will activate their cognitive learning and critical thinking. And also the focus is on the content, not the language. There are a lot of common strategies for CBI, so I will continue with CBI, but I mean content-based instruction. There are very common strategies, as you know, for CBI, but the most common ones that I could just say in summary, in short here, were adjunct or linked courses, second language medium or SLM, SSM or sheltered subject matter instruction, that is very famous and I think very common in most of the language classes, and also TB or theme-based courses. And like in adjunct or link courses, we have two different instructors with two different syllabi, but the goal is single. They are just following the single goal or objective. In second language medium courses, the focus is on subject of the course, not the language skills. And ours was some kind of between these two, AL and SLM, because we were two different instructors with two different syllabi, but we had this the same goal, and the goal was to teach content via language. And then also we have the sheltered one, that is also a very famous one. In the sheltered method, the instructor is the specialist in the content, and teaches the content to language learners in a sheltered group. And also the TB or team-based structure or methodology is the language teacher who is teaching the content. And again, the focus is on content, but the class is monitored and in control of the language teacher. So CLIL or content and language integrated learning is a kind of context that content will be learned along with a foreign language. That was the example of this research, what we were focused on. And usually the person who is, or the instructor or professor who is teaching the content is skilled and seasoned in the target language. So the context of this study was a linguistic course. As I said, the most important elements of linguistics like phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics were just applied in this course, but it was taught in a foreign language that was Parsi to the students. And also we wanted to have a kind of insight to CLT or communicative language teaching. As you know, in communicative language teaching, again, we have real world activities, real world experiences for the students, and it is more focused on communication than other aspects of language or linguistics. the students will be more self-regulated, and as I said, they were adults. In adult education, it would be more student-centered, because we know they can have their own strategies and ways for learning the content and language in their own ways. The methods of the study, the most important elements for our methodology was the observation and the reflection journals. As I said, we were two different instructors, one American professor who was teaching the language and linguistic class in English, and it was just focused on linguistic factors of the class. The class was around 3 hours once a week. So the first 2 hours of the class were taught in English, the applied linguistic, and the last 1 hour was taught in Persian. The same concepts, the same linguistic concepts were taught in Persian to compare the learning process of the students. And then after the observation and coding the reflective journals, there was a kind of document analysis on the participants and the data collection. The participants were, the majority of them were Asian students, like 22% of the students were from China, Korea, and Asian countries. We had 17% of the students who were Native American speakers. 4% were Spanish students who were like Spanish teachers who were in TESOL program. And we have a couple of French or other nationalities that were included in our participants. After coding the data and data analysis, so the first question was focused on the attitudes and perceptions of the participants. Yes, so there were some positive attitudes and some negative perceptions. Some of the positive attitudes were like the students' learning process, how they thought that the class could help them learn content and language at the same time. As I said, some of them were in service teachers who were just giving a language shock to their own experiences to see how the students feel when they are teaching the content to them in a foreign language or in a second language that is English. Some of them were so satisfied and they said they are learning, Persian is a very difficult language for Americans or like other nationalities to start with when they are adults and with zero level of language background. So some of them were very happy. They applied the same techniques that they were learning the language for their students in the classrooms. And it seemed that that was a very kind of successful strategy for them. Some of them were not happy. Some of them had very great challenges. They couldn't understand the syntax, like the writing system was very difficult for them. And these are just some examples of their reflective journals that I just put in summary in my slides. So some of the students, some of the participants were satisfied, some of them were not satisfied. And we wanted to know who favored the CLT method or communicative language teaching content in a foreign language better. So again, I went back to the participants and compared the participants based on their like nationality, if they are domestic students, they are American, or they are international from different nationalities. And as you see in the chart, it was clear that every element of linguistic, every element of content and language was easier to accept for internationals than Americans. And probably one of the reasons was their earlier challenge for learning English. So before coming to US universities, they had the challenge of learning English, and like they had it in their profile before. And it was not very surprising, but it was interesting to know that international students welcomed learning the content through a foreign language better. And again, I went back to the reflective journals to know like what techniques and strategies, and I'm just telling this in short because like there were different phases and different methods and techniques that I use in the class for every semester. For every session, I try to use different strategies to see which one would work better for adults in like that level of education. So as you see in the graph, it seems that the kind of cultural activities, like I was taking some cultural activities in the classroom, some foods, customs, traditions, like different real life experiences into the classroom to make the learning easier and like more interesting to learn the content in a foreign language. And also, like these are some examples, not including all of the examples that I applied in classrooms. These examples, they show that how the students favored some of the language resources more than the others, and like cultural activities and recorded videos. Like I went to studios and recorded some conversations in Persian for them. And I uploaded the videos for their Canvas on their Canvas for their modules. So it seemed that some methods work better for some students than the other students. And again, it wasn't just unique or specific for every single student. Like the strategies were different and their learning styles were also different. As I'm saying in short, I just want to say the summary of the study. It was a very interesting research for me and for my colleague and for the students who were in the graduate level. They understood that how important is the language placement. Like they said, they had students just coming into the country, in a foreign country. They go to mainstream classrooms without any language placement, so they could feel it, how important it is to have language placement for the newcomers in US, and how the amount of input is very important for the learners. We cannot just suddenly give a lot of information to language learners and expect them to learn in a very short time. The duration of the instruction and the time that we are giving the students is very important. How much time and facilities, like whatever the tech tools or available resources or sources are very important in target language, if we have those resources or not, and how we design our curriculum and assessment based on the needs or the students' needs assessment. And also we shouldn't be just closed, and we should be open. We should have different strategies and methods in our teaching toolbox to be available and ready for different learning styles. These are some of the references of my study, and I really appreciate your time. I just didn't want to go to too much detail. I just wanted to be kind of a warm-up, a short warm-up and icebreaker I know it is morning there, and just to be in the world of language and linguistics in the beginning of your valuable conference. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, please, this is my email, and feel free to contact. And I wish you the best, and I'm sure you will have a very exciting conference today and tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. It was nice meeting you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sidi Zamani, for sharing your wonderful research with us. And I'm curious that you have found a very good correlation between the cultural activities and language learning, because as Nagugi said, that language carries culture. So you have actually used it the other way around. Any questions from Dr. Sidi Zamani? Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for being here. Let's move on to our next presenter, who is Ms. Sirikan Tongmak. She is part of the Faculty of Education at Inauguration University, Thailand. Ma'am, are you here?
Yes, of course.
Okay, please, the stage is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sirikan Tongman. I am representative from International Language Council, and now I am lecturer at Naresuan University, Thailand, Faculty of Education. So today I have prepared only my short talk as a lecturer from Thailand, and I would like to to raise awareness of the importance of English language from the lens of lecturer as non-native speaker here. In Thailand, I found many problems and burden as lecturer here because now English was used has long been used as the formal language and the main medium to teach students in the class. But I found that my students come from various areas from local and they not use English as the main medium in the class. So it is the burden or maybe the obstacle of the lecturer here to prepare ourselves to let students see the importance of English as the lingua franca or world English status. And apart from teaching English based on the norm of native speaker, for example, British or American English, I have to prepare a local register or maybe vocabulary communication skill for my student to communicate with Thai themselves and ASEAN community people. That nowadays they have to see the importance of English as the main medium to communicate and to reach the mutual understanding with the people from ASEAN community and to communicate with Thai themselves each other successfully. And I will let you know about my recent research. I just conducted research. This is my research that has just published a phenomenological study of English teacher reflection on their challenges and instructional management in Pattani province in Thailand. Pattani is the unreached province now in Thailand. So I conducted research to interview 5 teachers there, and I found that apart from linguistic features or vocabulary or grammar, they have to prepare themselves as a teacher to overcome the challenges and burden in these provinces. I found that they comment about their workload as a teacher there and the obstacle about the English communication with themselves, with the teacher themselves as non-native speaker. So from my perspective, I think that we have to prepare maybe the competence in terms of linguistic feature, grammatical structure, and content based on the curriculum, based on the material development for them, and to prepare local register for them that need to communicate each other in the local provinces. So if you would like to read more in my research article, you can find out or contact me privately. Finally, I think that you are the researcher and scholar in the ELT. So you see the importance of English as the main medium, but we have to prepare not only the language, we have to prepare material, to prepare curriculum, to prepare our competence to approach both maybe native and non-native language teacher and to adjust ourselves to the mainstream of English as the world English as today or English as lingua franca today and to be the effective lecturer in this era, I think so. Okay, that's all my. Okay, complete.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Hong Mak. Actually, this is a very wonderful findings that the task of the English teachers are multifaceted. They are not so easy designing the curriculum and preparing the students, and also especially from the students who are not native speakers, from the starting them from the zero. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome.
You're welcome. Okay, the next is we have Dr. J.A.H. Khatri. He is an assistant professor in the School of Liberal Studies and Education, Navrachana University, Gujarat, India. Sir, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mashal. So good morning, all of you. We have morning here in India, Gujarat. So
Good morning.
yeah, good morning. I basically I'm basically a trained linguist and gradually shifted towards the issues of semiotics, communication, and cognition. And today I want to talk about a research that like in the process of doing. It's not the, let's say, there is no final word yet. We are just working on it. The issue that we're dealing with is this uh, what we call Hegelian uh, wo- culture versus nature, or what Marx later on accepted, or if we talk in Saussure's terminology, we have this binary opposition, okay, which was again adopted by Levi-Strauss. Okay, so we that the argument goes that we cognize things in terms of binary opposition, and uh, the language is probably an instrumental medium that allows us to see the world in this kind of opposition. Okay, the first binary opposition that we think as a human is the nature versus the culture. Okay, and this very identification of the two separate entities of nature and culture uh, places uh, the humans, who are the cultural animals, social animals, out of that box of nature. Okay, because we consider ourselves the part of the culture, or we think in terms of such some specific cultural phenomena, and everything that is considered natural is something opposite to this idea of cultural. And the major problem this kind of uh, what we call dichotomic thinking has brought in is we don't think integrationally. We don't think that uh, we are also part of the same nature, and that means if you are thinking about nature, you are also thinking about yourself. And because of this reason, instead of thinking about and working for the nature and making it a better place, better in terms of ecology, better in terms of sustenance, we started developing euphemisms. Okay? Instead of uh, saying that this is a problem and we should solve this problem, we uh, reword that problem in something into something that's fairly neutral, and we don't really start uh, thinking about the resolution. We have a very like basic example today. uh, like we had food, and it's like before 50 years food meant food. There was no problem with that. Like we understand that moment someone says food, okay, we are thinking about something uh, that's edible. But then today there are categories of food, especially in terms of uh, something which has minimal the food items which has minimal chemicals in them, because in last 50-60 years the farming strategies have changed in order to get maximum output, maximum productions. And for that purpose we have been using more and more chemicals. Of course it has given us a lot of production, okay, but it has also affected the land. It has also affected the quality of the production that we are making. And then at certain stage some people realize that, oh, this is not so natural kind of food, and that's where they also created another category of food. I'm missing that name right now. What? the food items which has minimal chemical or no chemicals, purely natural. Uh, so now there is this new category which is
Excuse me.
yeah
Sorry to
or
interrupt, Richa. I think it's organic. Are you
yeah organic
fine?
food. Yeah, true. Thank you. Thank you, Satvik, as well. Yeah. So now we have this new category of organic food, and uh, now probably before 50 years, every item of food was organic food. But now, in this new era of euphemism, the simple food is not natural. And when you are talking about the natural food, okay, you'll have to think about organic food. And probably that organic food is also uh, very exclusive. Okay. That is, it is not for everybody because of this uh, crisis. Similarly, we have also uh, what we call brought in the concept of farming in terms of non-veg. We have uh, the farms of the chicken, the farms of the goat and sheep, and there is again uh, a kind of category that we are creating where it's not the natural kind of food. So the question is, what is nature, and how do we decide that something is natural? Okay, and this is not a new question. In fact, we are dealing with these kind of questions from the very beginning. Like we have this uh, difference of right and left, right hand and left hand. Okay, and probably across the languages, the word for right hand is basically derived from something that is true or something that is desired. Okay, so that is right. Even in English, we say right. So opposite of right is not just left, but also the wrong. Okay, so when you say left hand, again, left is in English also derived from something that is remaining, left hand. So there is one hand, you should be using this hand for all the good purposes, for all the important things like eating or giving someone something. Okay. The other hand is the remaining hand. And again, by using this kind of dichotomy, we are creating a category of something that's acceptable and something that's not acceptable. And in fact, good number of people die because of the accidents, because most of our machines are made considering the right hand uh, strong people, those who are using right hand. So those people who are using, or for them, uh, those who are using left hand. Okay. My brother is left-handed. My father was left-handed. But then this small uh, categorization that we have developed in our language and in our cognition is affecting human society. Okay. So, and the moment we are thinking in terms of nature and culture, again, there are stages and categories of culture. While in terms of nature, we don't have those stages. There we just think about two things. Is it useful for us or it is not useful for us? So then utility becomes our category. Okay. So we talk about natural resources. Again, the word resource attached with natural gives us a wrong connotation about the things that we are using from the nature, because that resource gives us the implication that this is something uh, that is recyclable, or this is something which is not going to um, get over. So as a user, that idea doesn't come to our mind, and we keep on using those resources. See, we don't have any word to talk about it. So we are basically exploiting the nature without considering the future implications of it. And in fact, we have already started suffering because of that overuse of the natural resources. Okay. So this is where our uh, reworking on the language and creating a language that gives us a realistic perception of the things that we are talking about becomes very important. And that's where we are thinking about language and ecology, or the ideas of eco-linguistics or green criticism, where one of the primary concern is to create the right kind of cognition where we can see the world neutrally. Of course, we will all agree with this idea that yes, we need to see this world in a new form, because we have almost destroyed the world, and we are on the verge of that destruction. And probably, if we start seeing the world uh, and ourselves as part of that world, part of that nature, okay, of course, we have a culture, and that culture is also uh, developed within that nature. You cannot have a culture without its ecology. So it's a high time that we start seeing that way, and our governments, our authorities also start considering that. So I hope we can get to some better places by thinking in these lines. So thank you all. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr.
That's all.
Khatri, for your wonderful insights and for the policy measures that you have suggested for the authorities as well. And I'm very intrigued by your idea of applying the dichotomy of language and difference between how we define things and dichotomize them, distinguish them on the language that it has and the culture. Thank you so much, sir. Do we have Dr. Abdurrahim Bodarbain here? Okay, so anyone else who would like to put in any last words before we conclude this session? Okay, that's all right, because we have a lot to look forward to in the upcoming sessions, and here the presenters, the judges, the chairpersons as well. Thank you very much, everyone, especially the respective speakers for their words and sharing their wonderful insights and researches with all of us. We hope that all of you will have a great time here. The audience will have a lot to learn from, and best of luck to all the presenters. We will see you in the next presentation session that will start at 12:30 p.m. Indian time, and goodbye for now.
Thank you, Anand, for joining in this session. We will continue our first presentation as per the given time in the stated file.